Red light therapy can not only help you build muscle mass, but can also help you increase your speed, strength, and endurance. Sound too good to be true? Well, professional athletes and Olympic training camps across the world don't think so. Red light therapy can help you turn back time on your body. As a former pharmaceutical sales rep, I'm inclined to understand the science behind technology. And as an athlete, I want to stay strong as I age. So, what is this red light therapy? And if this is so great for athletes, why aren't we hearing from the athletes about it? Well, two words: competitive advantage. This technology is still not mainstream, but today I want to break down all of the complexities and explain exactly how this works. So let's start with the light itself, and specifically the sun. The sun has been used for healing for a very long time, but unfortunately, the sun does come with its downsides in UV damage to the skin and burning. But if we can look at all of the different light spectrums, we can actually isolate the red light and the near infrared lights. These two light spectrums are what we're going to focus on when we're talking about red light therapy or photobiomodulation, as it's also sometimes called. This is where we use these light spectrums to penetrate into the body to heal. There are over 5,000 clinical studies showing efficacy in a wide variety of areas. How does red light and near infrared light work to actually heal the body? So, in order to understand how red light and near infrared light works, we're going to have to go back to biology 101. And let's talk about the mitochondria and their production of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the fundamental energy molecule of life. It runs the whole machine. You can think of it as the gas for the car. ATP is your gas for your body. So ATP is produced, and we're going to target, first of all, and talk about the blood. So as this light is able to penetrate into the mitochondria and stimulate it to produce more energy, more ATP, the blood then has mitochondria within it. So you can imagine this is being circulated systemically through the body. So this is one way that the ATP is increased and helps heal. The second way is that the light can also penetrate deep into the tissue. And especially when we're talking about muscle, muscle tissue has a lot of mitochondria within it. So it's really a great way to target to heal muscle. And then finally, red light and near infrared light specifically can penetrate deeply enough into the body to hit the bone, which stimulates the bone marrow to release stem cells. So stem cells are vital to your body's ability to heal and also increase energy and reduce inflammation. So it is with these three parts circulating through the blood, increasing the tissue healing, and then releasing stem cells that red light therapy is working throughout the body. So if you want to go deeper into the science, I'll have a link for another video where I'm going to deep dive into that. But later when we talk about what to use, remember that you needed to choose a delivery system for red and infrared light that is powerful enough to penetrate through your skin into the tissue and to stimulate the bone marrow. So this is why I'm not going to talk about masks or red light therapy wraps. They might deliver red light therapy into the blood given enough time, but I want this to be something that you can actually use without taking a lot of time commitment to see real lasting results. Because if it takes too much time, you're just not going to use it. All right, let's talk about the muscle. So red light therapy, as I said, is specifically effective for the muscle because the muscle contains a lot of mitochondria. So there was a clinical study where they took a group of professional soccer players and they divided them into two segments. One segment was receiving red light therapy, and the other segment was receiving a sham therapy. In other words, not red light therapy. And this group was asked to do bicep curls, and they were measured before and then after their red light therapy treatment. This was a blinded study, so neither group knew which one was getting the real treatment. And at the end of the study, the group of soccer players that used real red light had an 13% increase in the size of their biceps. That was statistically significant. So there are many, many studies out there about muscle mass being increased with red light. This is just an incredible technology. All right, let's talk about speed, strength, and endurance. There are studies that show an improvement in time to exhaustion. This is great news for those of you out there who are marathon runners or triathletes or are riding cycles for long distances, or even if you're involved in team sports like football or soccer or basketball that take an enormous amount of energy in order to play the game. This is really for you long haul athletes, and it's incredible that a technology could do this. Okay, let's talk about recovery because this is so important for you athletes. There was a study that showed a reduction in muscle soreness, a reduction of muscle weakness, and an improvement in the range of motion significantly for up to 96 hours post exercise. So that's incredible. And this makes sense because red light therapy has a profound effect on two enzymes. One, lactic acid, which is released as your muscles are damaged, leaving you feeling sore after a workout, and creatine kinase, which is an enzyme that during muscular activity catalyzes the muscle to produce ATP. Remember, the energy powerhouse of the cell. Okay, fat loss. Yes, red light therapy has been shown to improve fat loss. This is good news because burning calories, of course, helps you to lose fat. And there are studies that show that when you combine red light therapy with exercise, it can help you lose fat too. Another advantage of red light therapy and near infrared light is that it actually increases the production of elastin and collagen, and that could actually help you tighten the skin. So as you're beginning to lose fat, your skin is also being tightened, but I would recommend that you would lose this slowly so that your body has time to catch up to that fat loss with the skin tightening. Okay, let's talk about downsides of red light therapy. Well, there are not very many. The most common side effect with red light therapy is actually feeling a little bit tired. And this was noticeable more for people who had immunocompromised systems or were undergoing some type of a treatment like a cancer therapy treatment. But I will say, if you're the type of person that tends to be very sensitive to all types of things, maybe you're sensitive to fragrances, maybe you're sensitive to light or other things, you may feel a little bit tired. But if you're going to use this properly and not overuse it, so this is a technology that you do not want to overuse for hours and hours and hours, it'll actually mitigate your results. You want to use it for a short amount of time, just enough time to get the benefits of the increased ATP. So think about, like, if you were in the sun for hours and hours and hours, you would actually in an hour of sun receive about a million joules of energy. And that's why after being in the sun for a long period of time, you will feel tired. You are not going to be absorbing nearly that amount with red light or near infrared light therapy. So I wouldn't worry very much about it, but that's it. That's the only known side effect from red light therapy. Actually does this. All right, my everyday hiking partner has a chronic back injury that has been plaguing her for about 2 years. And within 30 days of using red light therapy, she said it was completely gone. So it is incredibly healing. And I'm going to also list here some studies that have been done on some injuries. So neck and back pain injury from strains, frozen shoulder, so impingement or swimmer's shoulder, rotator cuff injuries, tennis elbow, IT band injuries, runner's knee, shin splints, tendon injuries, Achilles strain, ankle strains and sprains, bone stress and fracture injuries. That is just incredible. I'm sure that there are studies on all kinds of other things that I haven't mentioned, but this is a very healing technology. Lastly, as far as healing, I really want to talk about my dog Storm. My dog Storm is my everyday hiking partner. She is currently 12 and a half. Back in 2020, my dog got bit in the face by a rattlesnake. And if you've ever experienced an injury like this with your pet, it is not good. And as a result, she had some neurological issues. And one of them was that when she would squat to go to the bathroom, her back legs would shake. And I began using red light therapy on her. And within 1 month, I started to notice that that shaking had lessened. And within 3 months, it had completely resolved and she no longer shakes when she goes to the bathroom. My dog is 12 and a half years old and she regularly climbs mountains with me. And every day before we hike, I actually back her hind legs up to the smallest panel and I treat her for 3 minutes. And I know that this is not only treating those direct tissues because she has a lot of strain on those back muscles as she's climbing up and down the mountains, but I know that it's being systemically circulated throughout her body through her blood. So this has been extremely healing. So you can use red light therapy on your pets. There are trials and studies that have been done on that, dogs, horses, all kinds of animals. Now, if you're an athlete, you are going to have to deal with an injury or maybe even some ongoing injuries. So here are a few things that I have used red light therapy to heal with over time. My first experience was that the day I received my very first red light therapy panel, I had that day been running. I leapt over a stream and I pulled my hamstring. Unfortunately, this was 3 days before I was getting ready to do a 21-mile, 10,000-foot mountain climb in California. And I knew there was no way I was going to be able to do that. A hamstring injury is like a 2-week healing process. But I remember reading about all of these healing modalities. So what I did was I positioned the panel about 6 inches away from the back of my hamstring. And I used the red light therapy for 10 minutes. And then the second day, I did the same. And on the third day, I did the same. And that day, when I climbed my normal 1,100-foot, 1.1-mile mountain, I never felt any pain from that hamstring pull. And less than a week later, I did accomplish that big 21-mile, 10,000-foot climb, and I never felt my hamstring injury. This was absolutely incredible. I was blown away and I was immediately sold by this technology. Since then, I have used red light therapy to heal rolled ankles, which I have a tendency to do because I'm a trail runner. I live in Arizona. It's pretty rocky here. And this is just something that happens. I also stressed one of my knees when I was doing some 14ers in Colorado. Those are 14,000 feet mountains. I actually hiked 6 14ers in 3 days in Colorado last year. And I wound up tweaking my knee. And every once in a while, I can feel it come back. And I immediately do a red light therapy treatment on my knee, and it is completely gone. I never have any soreness other than feeling it slightly, and then it disappears. And it will be weeks sometimes before it comes back again. I have to tweak it again for that to happen, which is miraculous. For those of you who have dealt with any type of knee injuries, you know what I'm talking about. I also dislocated my pinky finger when I fell trail running, and I used it to heal that. And I have an ongoing shoulder injury again because I tend to fall when I'm running because I trip over rocks like a klutz. And I nearly fall and I've wrenched my shoulder a few times. But what I noticed it took about 3 months of very consistently using the red light therapy on my shoulder. And I would say my shoulder has improved by about 85%. And I still don't have my full range of motion from that injury, but I'm hoping that with stretching and working the myofascial and also continuing to use red light therapy, that will probably mitigate and resolve itself. I even healed a burn from a toaster oven and a bruise from using the red light therapy. And lastly, I will share that I have reduced the appearance of a couple of scars that I have with red light therapy too. There are studies that show it actually does this. So what are your options? Well, first of all, you could buy a bed, kind of like a tanning bed of red light therapy. These are extremely expensive, and I personally wouldn't have the space to have something like that in my house. But I think the best option are the panels that are available. And you want to make sure that the panel that you're purchasing is an FDA registered device. I do not think that there are any panels on the market that have an FDA approval, because in order to be FDA approved, you would have to undergo clinical studies that show efficacy and are submitted to the FDA. This would be a long, arduous, expensive process. And to my knowledge, no red light therapy companies have actually done this with their equipment. But that's okay, because we have 5,000 clinical trials showing that red light therapy and near infrared light therapy is absolutely effective. So the foremost expert on this is a man named Dr. Michael Hamblin, and he is an associate professor with Harvard University. He has been involved in writing textbooks and has personally participated in about 500 of these clinical trials. And he says that total energy is the most important thing when asked what makes a red light therapy treatment effective. So when you're comparing LED devices, you should look for the highest possible total energy output, or irradiance. He also said that there is some evidence that mixing red and near infrared is greater than the sum of its parts. Okay, so I personally am using a red light therapy panel by a company called PlatinumLED. This panel was recommended in Ari Witten's book, Red Light Therapy, which was written in 2018. And it is the #1 rated book on Amazon. It has the highest reviews. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. And panels are more and less expensive than the one that I picked, but I picked this because it also had the most amount of LED bulbs for its size. It's 30% brighter than other panels that I looked at on the market. And remember, the overall power is the most important factor in the red light therapy, which is measured in milliwatts per square centimeter. So what this is a delivery of joules of energy into your body. So the 3 different units that I am using deliver 150, 174, and 185 milliwatts per centimeter. And these are measurements that are taken from about 6 inches away from the panel. And I wanted to use it that way to deliver enough joules of energy efficiently into my body so that this wasn't a huge time commitment and that I would actually commit to using it daily. I knew that if I was going to have to spend too much time doing this, I wasn't really going to integrate it into my routine. So the recommendation for using red light therapy is at least 3 times a week, but there's a lot of effectiveness. There was actually a study where they took a mouse, clunked it on the head, and caused a head injury. Then 4 hours later, they gave it 1 treatment of red light therapy, and then they monitored the mouse every single day and looked at its cognitive improvement for 30 days. and it had an improvement every single day for 30 days. So even one treatment of red light therapy is effective. So if this is something that you're not going to be able to invest in your home to have personally, you can go places and pay to use a red light panel for healing. Okay, so I'm going to put some links below here for the description and the exact specs and the model and the pricing at the current time of this video, and you can take a look at it. But I personally started with a very small device because I wanted to see if it was going to work before I was going to make a larger investment in the technology. I hang this unit on the back of my bedroom door, and that way for me, it's mostly out of sight, but it's still easily accessible for me to use. And the small one that I started with is also perfect for travel, and I use it to treat my dog. I'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. But this size is also really great for treating a localized injury. And the only downside to using a small panel like this is that in order to treat your whole body, you're having to segment out and treat different parts of your body. So, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes in the middle part of my body, 5 minutes lower part of my body, and then the back side of my body. And it was a bigger time commitment than I wanted. So eventually I did invest in a larger unit. And I actually hook these two together so that I can treat my entire body one side at a time. Now, if you had the funds and the means, you absolutely could get a set of panels that would treat the front of your body and the back of your body all at the same time. So maybe your treatment time could be reduced to about 10 minutes a day. Like I said, I use this standing up, but I'm going to share that my dad does have a slow progressing Lou Gehrig's disease. So he doesn't have the mobility to stand in front of it. So he actually lays down on the bed and he has a horizontal stand that actually treats him so he can do this in a lying down position. I do personally use my panels daily because I also exercise every day and I want the host of benefits that goes into this. And I'm not going to go in depth into this in this video, but I will link the playlist that I've created for all of the red light therapy videos that talk about different ways that you can use red light therapy to treat yourself. And you can explore the areas that are of benefit to you, including hormone regulation. This red light therapy also has very powerful anti-aging effects on the skin, including, as I said before, increasing collagen and elastin, which helps reduce wrinkles. It can reduce cellulite, reduce inflammation, which is so big because that is behind pretty much every major disease state, reversing diseases, improving depression, migraines, mood, and sleep, and even increasing your memory, and just so much more. So when I use the red light therapy, I fully undress and I remove all makeup and sunscreen before I use it, because remember, the light has to be able to penetrate into your skin. And I use my red light therapy every day because I am a competitive hiker and I trail run. And I really wish that I had this technology back in my CrossFit days, because I would be so sore for the day and the second day, especially after my workout. It would actually make me tired. I would imagine that I probably would have had a lot better performance and recovered much more quickly had I had red light therapy way back then. So I personally use red light therapy about 26 minutes a day. So in the morning, I will stand about 6 inches away, fully unclothed, and I use it on my front for 5 minutes. And then I turn around and use it on my back for 5 minutes. Now, these devices do come with goggles. And remember, you do not want to stare directly into any light, not the sun, not a light bulb, and certainly not into red light therapy. But I close my eyes, and I personally do not use the goggles because there are actually studies that show that red light therapy can reverse glaucoma and blindness. So you have to do your own due diligence and decide what is right and safe for you. But all of the panels, I'm sure, do come with the little goggles that you would use like at a tanning booth. And then in the evening, I will do the same thing. I will do 5 minutes on my front, but this time I don't stand so close. I stand about an arm's length away because I just want it to penetrate and get the benefits on my skin for anti-aging. And then I do stand again close to the backside and use it for about 5 minutes there. I also will use it, turn on my side and use it for 3 minutes on each side. And I feel like this is really effective for treating the sides of my knees and also any type of a shoulder issue that I have. So you really can configure your treatment anyway. If you want to do it all at once in the morning, that's up to you. If you want to split it up and use it like I do sometimes in the morning and at night. One of the things I will say is I do use this directly before going to bed, and I do not have any problem sleeping directly after using red light therapy treatment. But there are people who say it helps them sleep better. And there are people who say that they feel stimulated after the red light therapy. So, and they could not sleep right away. It's really going to be another example of how everybody is very different, and you'll have to experiment and see what works with you. So what are your goals? I would love to hear from you. And especially if you've already started to use red light therapy and some of the benefits that you're seeing. And I would be happy to answer questions, all kinds of animals. So this is amazing. This video truly could have been hours long on just this one topic for you athletes. But if you want to, you can check out my other videos on red light therapy. So are you at least intrigued? Well, as always, I do encourage you to do your own due diligence. I'll have some resources below where you can look at some studies. And if you're just so inclined to do that, you can dive pretty deep down the rabbit hole on this topic. I am so passionate about this because it really works. 5,000 clinical studies is what would be considered a mountain of evidence now, and it's probably even more than that. This is still not mainstream though, because doctors are really not talking about it. Insurance companies have not gone on board with how to reimburse doctors for talking about it. And they still tend to go towards pharmacological solution for healing all these different disease states that people are experiencing. But I do foresee a time in the future when people will have red light therapy in their homes the way that they have TVs and computers now. So one for every house would absolutely heal the world.